Tonight, on Inside Louisiana Basketball, I sit down with head coaches Garry Brodhead and Bob Marlin. We're also going to give you a look at the Ragin Cajuns podcast and the schedule for the Ragin Cajuns for the coming week. But first, let's send it over to Dan McDonald and Louisiana Stokes as they recap the women's big win against ULM on Saturday.
Louisiana's Ragin Cajun women's basketball team survives for its third straight Sun Belt Conference win, 52-45 over the in-state rival ULM Warhawks. I'm Dan McDonald along with Louisiana Stokes. And Louisiana, it was not an offensive showcase by either one of these two teams, but the Cajuns found enough offense in the second half to get away with a third straight conference win.
Exactly, Dan. At the beginning of the first quarter was just hectic. Just sitting here watching them trying to get some basket ins was very difficult for both sides.
Cajuns actually ended up shooting almost 50% in the second half. They wound up shooting for the game 37.5%. That doesn't sound like much, but Louisiana was well under 30% at the half. But that was even better than ULM, and the Warhawks struggled the entire game. They shot only 28% as a team. And the number that jumps off the stat sheet, ULM 2 for 24 outside three-point range.
Exactly. And Clark, although she did an awesome job this evening, she had a lot to carry on her back today.
Arsula Clark has 16 points and 11 rebounds for ULM, but she is the only double-figure scorer for the Warhawks. The Cajuns end up with 3 players in double figures. The 2 freshman guards, Brandy Williams and Andrea Canoyer. Both of them continue to play well as freshmen. They end up both with double figures, Williams with 12 and Canoyer with 11.
And their scores were much needed on this evening. Although they didn't hit the 20s today, they did enough to get the Cajuns a win.
And of course, we haven't talked about Ty Doucette yet. Doucette with her 8th double-double of the season. She finishes with 12 points and 10 rebounds. Only got off 10 shots during the game as ULM's pressure defense kept the Cajuns a lot of times from being able to get the ball inside. But Doucette going 6 for 10 from the field. She also had a block and a steal, and did what she needed to do, especially down the stretch.
Exactly. She started off a little sluggish at the beginning. I'm not sure what happened in the locker room at halftime, but she came out that second half and she banged the boards and she made some shots, and some great things happened for Doucette on this evening.
The Ragin Cajuns struggled mightily offensively early in the ball game. In the first quarter, they were only 2 for 12. They didn't score a field goal until about a minute and a half was left in the first quarter. But then sort of came on, I hate to use the word strong, but they came on much better over that last 3 periods.
And they did, and you can almost say strong. I could see that because what I saw the first half was definitely what I didn't. What I saw the second half, definitely I didn't see them the first half, Dan.
Louisiana improves to 5-11 overall, 3-2 in Sun Belt play. ULM fell to 7-9 and 1-4. And Luana, I don't know how many people would have thought this Cajun team would win 3 straight conference games after they struggled to start the conference season.
Again, Dan, no seniors, no problems. The girls work really well together. You can see that they have really learned how to collaborate their game time. They're talking more, and that makes a difference, and that brings on a win.
Once again, Cajuns win over ULM's Warhawks, their 9th straight win over ULM, 52-45 here at the Cajun Dome. For Louisiana Stokes, I'm Dan McDonald.
Next on Inside Louisiana Basketball, we sit down with women's head coach Garry Brodhead.
If you're happy and you know it's Zydeco. If you're happy and you know it's Zydeco. If you're happy and you know it, then your feet will surely show it. If you're happy and you know it's Zydeco. If you're happy and you know it, mange. If you're happy and you know it, mange. If you're happy and you know it, I think I will help you show it. If you're happy and you know it, mange.
To perform, you need speed, skill, strength. With every muscle, every move, you push your body to reach its full potential. But sometimes you just can't push through the pain. That's when you know it's time to address it. So when injury puts you on the sidelines, trust us to get you back in the game. Lourdes Sports Care. the team behind your team.
Welcome back to Inside Louisiana Basketball. I'm here with head coach Garry Brodhead. And coach, win number 3 in a row in the Sun Belt Conference. The Dome has been good, and especially this past Saturday with a big win against in-state rival Monroe.
Yeah, I thought, coming back home was going to be big for us to try to protect the home court. And, I thought our kids really stepped up and defended really well. And, we've been talking about it all year. You win those conference games at home. You can't let them slip, and then you got to try to steal them on the road. So I was very impressed on how much effort and how we played really well together, especially on the defensive side.
And for a young squad, it's really difficult to get them to understand the intensity in which you need to play, especially on the defensive end. And this weekend against Monroe, you kids bought into your plan.
Yeah, we talk about it when we got into conference and made that Arkansas trip. We was talking about making stops. It's not about scoring to us. It's about trying to make stops in conference and all that. And I think that road trip was kind of tough on them because it was trying to get them to understand it. But then when we got back, and we were still not in class, so we were still doing 2-a-days. So we spent a lot of time on the defensive side, and they really bought into it, And, when you start to see a few results like we did coming back home, they seem to buy into it more. And, the process is a long process, as you well know, but I was pleased that they bought in, and hopefully we get ready to go to the Alabama schools, which can really, really score. We'll see if we can kind of continue that defensive.
Not only did your squad do really well on the defensive end, offensively you had great balance. 3 players scored in double figures. Ty Doucette has a double-double, and then Brandy Williams and Andrea Cournoyer, 2 freshmen, also score in double figures. You got to be happy with the balance on the offensive side.
Yeah, I think we have some scores. That's why we recruited them. They really shoot the ball well, and I thought coming home they really did with Ty. Ty's been pretty much averaging a double-double, and we need her to do that. And with Andrea Cournoyer and Brandy Williams, they're both really, really good scorers. But we need just a little bit more consistency from them, especially when we get on the road. We're going to be able to have to, knock down some layups, knock some free throws down, and hopefully we can get some more like, maybe Skylar Goodwin back involved in what we're doing. But we're going to need a little bit more scoring and a little bit more consistency from that.
What do you do during the week to work on your consistency? Is there anything you really focus in on? Is there anything you want your players to take away from practice that we need to do this one thing in order to be more consistent? I know that's hard to do with a young basketball team.
Yeah, I really believe in repetition. I mean, basketball is a game of repetition, so we try to get them to repeat it over and over again, and I think some of the things that we're lacking are just small things, like talking more on defense and all that. That's been a struggle a little bit, but we just keep on as a coaching staff to try to go through the reps, get through the reps, and continue. Like closeouts every day. I mean, we get tired of watching it, but it's what's gonna make us better and more consistent. So we do it over and over and over and over again. So we're starting to see some results now.
It's really interesting with the young kids today. They're always on their phone talking, but we cannot get them to talk on the court under any circumstance. So
right,
we know what's going on there. Talk a little bit about playing in the Dome and the difference the Dome has versus on the road. As you said, you're going to Alabama to take on South Alabama on Thursday, then a very good Troy team on Saturday. So what's the transition after having a 3-game homestand to going on the road to play 2 very good teams?
Yeah, I think it's a big difference. It's like we always say, you get on the road against some good teams, you want to try to steal at least one. Go 1-1 would be great for us. It's like not that we don't want to win 2, but it's just difficult on the road, especially with a young team. You don't get a few calls, or you miss a few shots and they kind of hang their heads. But at home, the Cajun Dome has always been pretty good to us, especially now that we get to practice in it more. We spend more time here shooting, and I know the new setup it's a little bit more friendly for the scorer. So it's just the comfort level, and I think we're averaging right around 1,500 in attendance, so the attendance is a little bit better. So you get that home court, and you get to sleep in your bed the night before. Freshmen aren't really used to getting on the road and spending 3 or 4 days on the road. So we're getting ready for it. I mean, it's part of the game, and we'll get on the road. But it's always nice to be in the Cajun Dome, and to me it's a little bit easier to play and a little bit easier to coach.
And the Ragin Cajun fans are some of the best in the country. You and I both know that. Real quickly, talk a little bit about South Alabama and then transition to Troy. What can we expect from the Jaguars and the Trojans?
Well, I tell you what, South Al started off really hot. You know, they were 11-0 going into conference, and you know, and beat you know, Alabama team, beat a SEC team, and really playing well. And then they kind of hit a lull, you know, but they're very very good scorers, and they have an inside-out game. You know, the Jones kid is shooting 50% from the three, you know, and she's going to be really difficult to guard. And their offensive transition is, you know, they're shooting threes at a high rate, and they got an inside game. So I think they'll be tough, and that's one of our weaknesses right now is our defensive transition. You know, we're good once we can get back and guard five, but man, when you go 4-on-3, 3-on-2, we're not there yet. So that kind of scares me. And then, you know, they're very aggressive and pressing and all that, and you know, our turnovers aren't exactly where we want to be, but you know, that'll be a tough game for us, you know, because they're high scoring.
It will be a tough game, but like we said, you've got a 3-game win streak going. The kids feel good about themselves. Coach, thanks for your time, and best of luck in Alabama.
I appreciate it.
Next on Inside Louisiana Basketball, an exclusive look into the Ragin Cajuns podcast featuring head coach Garry Brodhead.
The important traits that comes from this university here are folks that are go-getters, folks that are action-oriented, and folks that make things happen.
The skills they learn here are transferable into whatever career path they decide to choose.
The friendships that I have made have been everlasting since I graduated. And those bonds are strong, and it's fantastic. And what it all goes back to is that sense of community.
So the Association of Future Alumni is a student organization that students can join once they're a sophomore or above. And they basically serve as the ambassadors of the Alumni Association. So they can speak on behalf of the Alumni Association, they can kind of help us with our programming, philanthropic work, as well as public relations activities. We actually have 23 Ragin Cajun alumni chapters, and these are more interest-based and major-based.
To come back and see my brick on the Walk of Honor is truly, truly unbelievable. It lets us know that we're not just a number here, that we're part of the community, and then we're enshrined here, you know, for our lifetime. So that makes me proud, happy, and you know, it's a true Ragin Cajun spirit.
That success keeps coming, and then all of a sudden, your alma mater calls. They have a position open. What was it like getting that phone call from?
It was great. You know, my wife got the first call actually from a booster, and I'm going to say his name is Jerry Moe, because I owe a lot to him. And I owe a lot to a lot of people. You know, Jake Delhomme, I know you just spoke to him, and Jake, and a lot of them were pulling for me, you know, the first time before that I wanted it, and I didn't get it the first time that I interviewed. And there was so many people that were pulling for me. And so I actually went out to McNeese, but then when my wife got the call, I was coaching at McNeese, and actually we were in the NCAA tournament. We were getting ready to play Kentucky, and I got a call saying that the position was open. I didn't get a call. I got a call from my wife saying the position's open, and it's Mr. Jerry Moe called, and he's a huge supporter of UL. He's just passed away a few years ago, and to see if I would even be interested. And man, my wife answered for me. She says he will be definitely interested. And so when I did, you know, talk to Scott Farmer about it, and he was our AD back then here, that it was open, and he wanted to meet. I was so excited, you know, but I still had nerves, you know, because I wasn't at that time when I heard and got the call. I didn't know exactly what they were looking for. And a meeting that we had an unofficial meeting with Scott Farmer. It was one of the best meetings I ever had. And that was the question, is direction that UL, what did UL want? Not so much what I could do, but what did they want, and making sure we were on the same page. And, man, it was funny. We were on the same page, man. And I was very blessed to, go through the interview and get the job, man. And, man, that day, I'll never forget that day. We were balling crawfish at a friend's house, and I got a call from Scott Farmer and said, "Hey, you got the job." It's like, man,
what a great day that is.
What? I mean, it was
a little crawfish and a call.
I'm eating crawfish with some of my best friends,
Right.
and we just jumping up and down. You should have seen them. They were, they were more excited than I was, man. And, I just remember that night going home with my wife, and she says, "Wow, what are we gonna do?" It was we, and just not to get ahead of myself, but a few days before she died, she said that's one of the things that she would miss the most would be, she said, "Man, I know you're going to win big, really big. And, man, I'm going to miss that. I want to be here for that." So that was kind of tough, but she's here. Deacon calls her mom. My assistant coach, Deacon, he says, Mom, if something happens, Mom just did that. She's still here.
2015, Andrea passes with cancer. After you started building your way for the women's basketball program, and she's there every step of the way. What was it like telling your team that their mother has passed?
Well, it's like, I think it was hard, but they knew it was coming to an end. Thanks for the team. The team was so close to her during that 15 season. She had got really sick, and she didn't like her appearance. She was a very beautiful woman, so her appearance changed in her eyes, not in mine, but in her eyes. So she quit coming to a lot of the games. And then I tried to convince her, and some of the players would try to convince her. Some of the mothers of the players would try to convince her. And we got into a conference tournament, and I don't know how, but she decided to start coming back. And, man, that was huge in the locker room that day. It was just absolutely huge. So now I knew how connected she was, but I didn't think it was that much. And we go on to win the WBI championship, and she was right there holding the net and just got some of that. But to tell the kids, I felt that in 2015, my family, myself and my wife, taught our team a lot to persevere. The day she died, it changed. Everything changed in the fact that my players taught me how to persevere. And that, to me, that was powerful. And, Scott Farmer had told me that, it's like the year that we were struggling with her sickness, he said, "You're going to teach those kids so much." And I didn't understand it. I didn't. And we did. After it was all over, we did. So to tell them was tough, man. Even kids that were on the McNeese team struggled so much, man. I remember right before she died, I was on the phone with the little point guard from McNeese. She's playing in Spain right now, Jalen Johnson, white. And she couldn't stop crying. I was trying to console her right when my wife died. I'll never forget that, being on the phone. My daughter was on the phone, says, "Look, I can't help her anymore, Dad. She needs to talk to you." And I did. And the Kiki Villes and the Kia Wilridges and all that, it showed me how we taught respect, because, boy, they respected my wife so much. Even the mothers of those kids, of those players. So that was a tough day. And for the funeral home, it was tough to go through it. But then the funeral itself, man, I'm Catholic, so my priest is Father Blessing. And, we had close to 100 ex-players dressed in, instead of Acadiana stars, they were dressed in what we called, we had a shirt made up Andrea stars. And, man, it was powerful. The priest didn't want him to go in front, so what he wanted, and it was a great idea, he lined up everybody from the last pew to the first pew down the aisle, and just to see that, man, and the respect from high school coaches, college coaches, through all that was real powerful, but especially my players. We had a kid that played on the national championship team at South Carolina a couple of years ago, flew back for the funeral. And now you got to remember they're practicing. You know, the coach Don Staley allowed her to fly back, and she read a poem that she wrote that was powerful. And, you know, it's those things, you know, that you look at life and you know how you've kind of contributed, how she contributed to life. So it was good. But it was difficult with our team. But at the same time, they were powerful. Like, I got Brooklyn Arsenal working for me now, and Brooklyn was part of that team. And every day I came to work, Brooklyn would have something written in my desk, you know, telling me, hey, you strong, you need something, coach, blah, blah, blah. And we all grew together, you know. So it was good.
Next on Inside Louisiana Basketball, men's head coach Bob Marlin joins me to recap the week and look ahead to upcoming Sun Belt action.
Crunchy Fritos, warm, melty cheese, all together for 99 cents.
It's like a warm chili cheese Fritos family reunion.
Yeah, I feel warm just thinking about it.
That's the chili. I feel it too.
Hurry in for Sonic's Fritos chili cheese faves starting at 99 cents and try order ahead to get happy hour anytime.
At the University of Louisiana at Lafayette, our Ragin Cajuns spirit goes beyond athletics.
Welcome back, everybody. Coach, I don't know who you made mad at the Sun Belt Conference, but when they sent you on the road for 3 consecutive conference games against number 1 Georgia State, number 2 Georgia Southern, and number 4 this past Saturday at Monroe with the 4th-ranked Warhawks, they didn't make your job very easy.
No, it's the toughest stretch of road games for us all season, Mike, as you know, and to do it 3 in a row, it's the only time we'll take 3 road games or play 3 road games in a row and away from home. So tough challenge for us, and played a tough physical game at Monroe.
Having said that, it was a great game offensively. You guys had them right where you wanted at about the 10-minute mark in the first half, down by 22. And then you had this great comeback. I mean, it was something to watch. Balanced scoring. Jakeen Gant was off the charts again. But talk about the resiliency and the grit from your team, having come back from down 22 in the first half.
Got off to a slow start. We certainly were prepared to do a better job on Ertl and Smith, 2 outstanding guards in our league. But they made tough shots, and we took a couple of ill-advised shots, gave them a couple of turnovers, which were easy opportunities for them. And they got off to a quick start. Felt like the last 2 to 4 minutes of the first half, we outplayed them and cut into the lead. And without a half-court shot and 2 3-pointers in the last minute by them, we could have had it down to single digits. But it was at 14. They got the first basket of the second half to make it 16. And then we played well. We started making shots. Our defense was good in stretches. We rebounded the ball. We fouled out 2 of their interior players. And as you mentioned, Mike, Jakeen Gant was spectacular again with 31 points. He commands a double team in the post when he catches it in the low post, and that frees up some perimeter shooters. He had 5 assists at Georgia Southern, 4 the other night. Lets PJ Hardy and some of our other shooters get out and get their feet set and be able to knock in shots. So PJ had a big game, going 6 of 10 from 3. It really helped us. We needed that scoring, and you and I talk about it a lot. 95 points is plenty to win, especially on the road in the Sun Belt.
Without question, but you really got to like what P.J. Hardy has done. And he's a little bit of a Monroe killer. You know, 2 years ago as a freshman, Monroe came into this building, they came out in a zone, and in the second half, you know, the first half, you weren't shooting the ball very well. You come out in the second half, you face that zone, he makes 2 or 3 threes in the first 4 possessions. That really breaks the game off and open. If he can do that on a consistent basis, he really stretches the defense and takes some of that pressure off Gant at the basket.
Yeah, he started the last 3 games and he's played well. And look back at Southeastern, Mike. He started, first of all, at Lake Charles, going home. Played good in that game, didn't really score. And against Southeastern, we had 1 3-point basket in the second half, and he's the one that hit it that gave us the lead in the game that we won at the buzzer. So he was good that game, and then he hit the big go-ahead shot against Georgia Southern in Statesboro last Saturday. So he's playing with confidence. He's using his speed, and I'm more encouraged not because of his shooting, but because of his defensive play and his defensive rebounding the other day. I thought he used his athleticism and had his best defensive game as well. So his confidence is at an all-time high, and we're going to need him moving forward.
Well, anytime you play great defense, it takes pressure off your offense, and defense travels. We talk about that all the time. But Ja'Keenan Gant, he's opened up his toolbox, and he's really stretching defenses now with the three-point shot and also from the free throw line. He's scoring from all three levels. Talk about him a little bit. We haven't seen play like this out of an individual for a very long time. Go back to Bo Lamar and Andrew Toney. What Ja'Keenan is doing since we got into conference play is truly remarkable.
It's been phenomenal, Mike. He's averaging 31 points a game in 5 basketball games. He's leading the league in rebounding at 10 per game. He's leading the league in block shots at 3 per game. He's second in the league in field goal percentage at 61%. He's fourth in the league in free throw percentage at 88%. I mean, he's doing everything he can to help this team win. And he stepped up and knows that it's his team. And we talked earlier about him commanding a double team in the low post, but the nice thing with his play is that he scores in transition. He scores from the three-point line, as you said. He scores on elbow jump shots. He can score on hooks at the basket. We know he can dunk the ball with the best of them in the country. So, and he's shooting great from the free throw line. He had 22 in a row, string broken at Monroe. He went 8 for 9 in that basketball game. So he's a little bit like Anthony Davis to me. The more he can get in pick and roll situations with open space, he's hard to guard, he's hard to double team. And even though he's the target of the other team's scouting report, he's still coming out and putting up these numbers. So couldn't be more pleased with his focus to start with and his performance.
Ja'Keenan Gant can score from all three levels, and we'll need him to continue to do that if we're going to be successful. Next on Inside Louisiana Basketball, we take a look at the upcoming schedules for Ragin Cajuns basketball.
Being a Ragin Cajun means wearing red on Fridays, supporting our sports teams by going to the basketball games, the football games. Being a Ragin Cajun means saying hi to your friends when you see them around campus, or saying hi to people that you've never seen before on campus, because that's who we are.
The atmosphere here is electric. I mean, we have the best fans here, and the energy around campus is just the same. You know, those are the same people that come to your games and support you. The student section is packed almost every game, and to have that much support, it just feels good that, you know, people actually care. You're not just going out there and playing basketball and just you and your teammates. You actually have people that are behind you and want to see you do well.
And we have many activities and events for students that are freshmen that help get them to build their Ragin Cajun spirit. Then they start going to the activities that all the other students are participating in, like homecoming and Lanyap Day, and, you know, different things within their major. And all of these things really get students start feeling what it's like to be a Ragin Cajun. Not just with athletics, but also with just the feel of what it's like in being the Ragin Cajun family.
So whether you're interested in athletics or academics or art or orchestra, as long as you're doing what you love in this university, you're making this university proud, and you have Ragin Cajun spirit.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us for another edition of Inside Louisiana Basketball. Now let's take a look at this week's upcoming schedule.